passion of Jesus is to see the kingdom established here on earth. He's taught us to pray, let your kingdom come, let your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And he tells us how we do it. First of all, we have to be violent men and women who will fight to see the kingdom come. It's got to get into our spirit that the passion, what he is aiming for, is to see the kingdom here on earth. But he also tells us in Matthew chapter 16 that he gives us the keys for the kingdom. The keys for the kingdom. How do we open up things here on earth so they become more like heaven, which is what he's looking for. And he explains, whatever you bind on earth, the correct translation says, will already have been bound in heaven. We are not trying to change what goes on in heaven. We're saying what goes on in heaven. People are loving, people are kind, people are warm, people are friendly, people are content, people are at peace. All these wonderful things. There's no sickness, there's no sorrow, there's no dying in heaven. Once you're there, you're there. And you're there forever until the Lord moves us to the new heaven. And so heaven is a wonderful place. So when we're praying for things, we just have to think, what would it be like in heaven? And then say, bring it down on earth. Whatever you bind on earth will have been bound in heaven. Whatever you loose on earth will already have been loosed in heaven. And that is what basis for our prayers is. When we say we meet a family where husband and wife are fighting, we know there's peace in heaven. We can pray, Lord, release your peace to this couple, that they'll be able to love one another, serve one another, care for one another, live as a godly husband and wife. We're bringing heaven down in our prayers. And he's given us the keys. And these are the keys. And I think most of us have a good idea of the good qualities of heaven. And then we say, well, they're not here on earth. So I will pray these in to this particular situation. Don't take on the whole world when you're doing this. The whole world has got huge problems. Take on local issues, things which you can move and when you can have an impact, and say, let heaven come into this family. You may see parents who are struggling with their teenage children, and that does happen. And you say, Lord, bring your order in here. Help the parents to love their child, even though he's being rebellious, maybe a bit rude and unkind and so on. Give them love in their hearts, because there's plenty of love in heaven, I can assure you. So you say, let heaven come down here into this family situation. And you may be facing a financial problem. And in these days, there are many people who struggle with their finances, with companies shutting down and people losing their jobs, all these sort of things. And you say, Lord, there is plenty in heaven. You have promised to prosper us, to provide for us. There's plenty in heaven. Lord, bring your plenty into this situation. It is amazing what we can do. We can change situations here on earth because we're using the authority he's given you. And that's what the key talks about. When I gave the keys of my car to our son, he then had the authority. He could drive where he wanted. I would usually tell him, I want you back by a certain time, 11 o'clock, say, and he could drive, he could go where he wanted, he could do what he wanted with the car, because the keys were the authority to drive the car. When he came home, he'd give the keys back to me, and he'd say, thank you, Dad, for the car. Here are the keys. Recognizing he's handing over the authority. Jesus is handing over the authority to us to bring heaven onto earth. Through our prayer life and through our actions. There are things we have to fight for, we have to join in and put our voices behind and say, this is something which is not right. This is something which is not heavenly. And I'm sure you can look around where you live and there are many things which are not heavenly. But God says, you have the keys. You have the keys of the kingdom now. And you can bind what is wrong on earth and you can loose from heaven what needs to be here. So use that in your prayer life. Let your kingdom come is something we have the authority to play our small part in. So I urge you, practice this as you go through the coming days. Practice this. See something is not right. It may be in the office where someone is trying to bribe somebody or trying to force someone to do something they don't want to do, or something is not right. Come against it and say, I'm going to use the key I've got from Jesus to change the situation so that heaven is established on earth. God bless you.